Do you feel stuck, like every day is slipping through your fingers? Are you ready to take back control of your life, to build the kind of character that no obstacle, no failure, and no betrayal can destroy? Let me tell you this. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. If your habits are weak, so are you. But if your habits are strong, unshakable, you become unstoppable. Today, I will reveal 10 daily habits rooted in Stoic philosophy that will not just change your days, but transform your life. These are not optional. They are essential, and they demand your full commitment. Let's begin. Habit 1. Begin your day with intentional reflection. Begin your day with intentional reflection is not just a simple morning practice. It is the foundation upon which a meaningful and productive life is built. When you wake up, you face a choice. Will this day be a blur of tasks, distractions, and reactions? Or will it be a deliberate march toward your purpose? Your answer lies in how you start your morning. Imagine waking up not with dread or aimlessness, but with clarity and purpose. It all begins with reflection. A few minutes of quiet, intentional thought to set the tone for the day ahead. Why is this so powerful? Because mornings are your clean slate, untouched by the chaos of the world. When you take control of these first moments, you take control of everything that follows. Let me ask you something. How do you feel when you rush out of bed, already behind schedule, scrolling through notifications, or mentally bracing for the day's demands? Do you feel grounded? Or does it feel like the day owns you before you've even begun? Now imagine a different scenario. You wake up, sit quietly with yourself, and ask, what do I want from today? How will I show up for the challenges that come my way? Suddenly, the chaos feels manageable. You've anchored yourself before the storm. This habit is not just about avoiding distractions. It's about connecting with your deeper self. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest leaders, began each morning with a practice of self-reflection. In his writings, he asked himself how he would face the trials of the day with patience, courage, and wisdom. He knew that the way you frame your mind in the morning shapes your actions and decisions. I learned this lesson the hard way. There was a time in my life when my mornings were a mess. I would hit snooze until the last possible minute, jump out of bed, and rush through my routine, already stressed about what lay ahead. My mind felt scattered, my energy drained before the day had even begun. It wasn't until I started incorporating intentional reflection that things began to shift. One morning, after another night of poor sleep and endless worries, I decided to try something different. I got up 15 minutes earlier and sat in silence. At first, it felt strange, even uncomfortable. My mind raced with thoughts of unfinished tasks and upcoming deadlines, but I stuck with it. I took a deep breath and asked myself, what matters most today? Slowly, clarity emerged. I realized that many of the things I worried about didn't actually matter in the grand scheme of things. What mattered was how I approached the day, how I carried myself, how I treated others, and how I pursued my goals. This practice didn't just change my mornings, it changed my life. I started each day with a sense of control, no longer reacting to the world, but deciding how I would navigate it. The results were remarkable. My productivity soared, my relationships improved, and most importantly, I felt a deep sense of peace and purpose. Reflection is not about sitting in endless thought. It's about focusing your mind on what matters most. It can take many forms: a few moments of gratitude for what you have, a review of your goals, or even a mental rehearsal of how you'll handle the day's challenges. The key is to be intentional. Don't let your mind drift aimlessly. Guide it toward the outcomes you want to achieve. One of the most powerful aspects of morning reflection is that it reminds you of your priorities. In a world filled with distractions, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters. Reflection is your anchor, keeping you grounded in your purpose. When you start your day this way, You're less likely to be thrown off course by minor setbacks or unnecessary drama. Think about your own mornings. Are they chaotic, rushed and reactive, or are they calm, focused and intentional? What would change in your life if you dedicated just 10 minutes each morning to reflecting on your purpose? Would you approach your work differently? Would you interact with others more thoughtfully? Would you feel more in control of your life? The truth is, intentional reflection is not a luxury. It's a necessity. It's the difference between living a life of reaction and living a life of deliberate action. It's the foundation for every other habit you want to build. If you can master this, you can master anything. Here's how you can start. Tomorrow morning, before you do anything else, find a quiet space. Sit comfortably, take a deep breath, and ask yourself a few key questions. What matters most today? How will I face challenges with courage and grace? What kind of person do I want to be? Write your thoughts down if it helps. This isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel. And don't be discouraged if your mind wanders at first. That's normal. The goal is not to clear your mind, but to direct it. Over time, you'll find that these moments of reflection become a source of strength, a daily reset that keeps you aligned with your values and goals. Remember, your mornings are a gift. They are your chance to set the tone for the day, to decide who you will be and how you will act. Don't waste them. Take ownership of this time, and you'll find that the rest of your day and your life begins to fall into place. Habit 2, embrace voluntary discomfort. Habit 2 is to embrace voluntary discomfort because comfort is a silent enemy. It whispers to you that everything is fine while it quietly weakens your resilience. Comfort makes you fragile. It tricks you into thinking life will always be easy and predictable. But life is anything but predictable. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that to be truly strong, you must train yourself to endure discomfort before it becomes a necessity. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you truly pushed yourself out of your comfort zone? Have you allowed ease and luxury to dull your edge? Imagine waking up each morning and intentionally choosing something hard, something that challenges you, not because you have to, but because you can. This is the essence of voluntary discomfort. It's about taking control of your mental and physical limits so they don't control you. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, exemplified this principle. Despite his immense wealth, he often lived as if he had nothing. He wore simple clothes, ate the most basic food, and asked himself, "Is this what I feared?" He wasn't punishing himself. He was preparing himself so that if hardship ever came, he would be ready, unshaken, undeterred. Think about how this applies to your life. You don't have to be a philosopher to practice this. You just have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone. For example, take cold showers. It's not about the shock of the cold. It's about proving to yourself that you can endure what's uncomfortable and come out stronger. Try skipping a meal or experimenting with intermittent fasting. When you stop fearing hunger, you realize it's not an emergency. It's just a feeling you can handle. Dedicate time to physical exercise, not for vanity, but for discipline. Every drop of sweat builds your mental toughness. Simplify your life for a week. Live with less, wear the same few outfits, eat basic meals, avoid unnecessary luxuries, and you'll discover what truly matters. It's not about deprivation. It's about clarity and freedom from dependence. Step into social discomfort. Initiate that tough conversation you've been avoiding. Speak in front of a group even if it terrifies you. Every time you face what makes you uneasy, you grow more confident and capable. This shift isn't just about physical or social challenges. It's about a new mindset. When you embrace discomfort, you stop fearing life's uncertainties. Instead, you see them as opportunities to grow. Every time you choose discomfort, you're building a shield of resilience and strength that no one can take from you. There was a time in my life when everything felt like it was falling apart. Financially, I was struggling. Bills were piling up faster than I could handle. I remember sitting in my apartment, looking at an empty fridge and thinking, how did it come to this? Instead of panicking, I remembered the lessons of Stoicism. I scaled back my lifestyle immediately. I stopped dining out, stopped buying unnecessary items, and started living as simply as possible. And you know what? I discovered that I didn't need as much as I thought. I could endure more than I believed possible. Those days of voluntary discomfort taught me something invaluable. They taught me that resilience isn't built when life is easy. It's built when life is hard and you choose to stand strong, when you take control of your reaction to adversity. Are you truly prepared for the challenges life will throw at you? Have you been training your mind and body to handle discomfort, or have you let ease make you soft, weak, and unprepared? Think about the power you would have if you could endure anything, if you could face any situation with calmness and strength. This isn't a distant ideal. It's a reality you can create, one step, one uncomfortable choice at a time. Embracing voluntary discomfort is not about suffering, it's about liberation. It's about freeing yourself from the chains of fear and fragility. It's about taking ownership of your strength, your resilience, and your future. Tomorrow, when you wake up, choose something hard. Take that cold shower, skip that extra comfort, and challenge yourself. Every small act of discomfort is a brick in the fortress of your mind. No storm, no setback, no hardship will ever be able to tear it down if you choose to build it today. Habit 3. Master the art of saying no. Mastering the art of saying no is one of the most crucial habits you can develop to take control of your life and protect your energy. It's not just about declining invitations or turning down extra work. It's about setting boundaries that align with your values and priorities. Every yes you give is a choice to invest your time and energy. The question is, are you investing in what truly matters? Saying no is hard for most people. Why? Because we're wired to seek approval, to avoid conflict, and to please others. It feels good to be needed, to be liked, to be seen as helpful. But think about this. How many times have you said yes out of guilt or obligation, only to regret it later? How often do you find yourself overwhelmed, stretched thin, and frustrated because your time is consumed by things you didn't even want to do? The Stoics believed in living according to reason, not emotion. And reason tells us that time is our most precious resource. You cannot get it back once it's spent. So every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve your goals, you are saying no to something that does. Every time you agree to a favor you resent, you are stealing time from your own growth, your own peace, and your own purpose. Let me share a personal story. There was a time in my life when I said yes to everything. I wanted to be helpful, to be seen as reliable, to avoid disappointing others. If someone needed extra hands on a project, I was there. If a friend asked for a favor, I'd drop everything to help. If someone invited me to an event, I'd go, even if I didn't want to. On the surface, I looked like a great team player, a dependable friend, a social butterfly. But inside, I was drowning. I remember one weekend vividly. I had promised to help a colleague move, agreed to babysit for a friend, and said yes to attending a networking event. By Sunday night, I was exhausted, irritable, and completely drained. I hadn't spent a single moment on myself. No time for rest, no time for reflection, no time for the things I actually cared about. And for what? None of those things had truly mattered to me. The breaking point came when I missed a deadline for a personal project that was incredibly important to me. I had put everyone else's needs ahead of my own, and now I was paying the price. I felt angry, not at others, but at myself. Why couldn't I just say no? It was then that I realized something profound. Every time I said yes to something unimportant, I was saying no to something essential. I was letting other people's priorities dictate my life. I was giving away my power, and I knew it had to stop. Learning to say no was not easy. At first it felt uncomfortable, even selfish. I worried about letting people down, about being judged, about burning bridges. But I started small. I began by pausing before every commitment and asking myself, does this align with my values? Will this bring me closer to my goals? If the answer was no, I declined, politely but firmly. Over time, I noticed a change. Not only did I have more time and energy for the things that truly mattered, but I also gained respect from others and from myself. People began to understand and value my boundaries, and most importantly, I started valuing my own time and energy in a way I never had before. Saying no isn't about shutting people out or being unkind. It's about being intentional. It's about recognizing that your time is finite and treating it as sacred. It's about understanding that you cannot pour from an empty cup. When you protect your time, you protect your ability to show up fully for the things that matter most, to you and to others. Think about your own life. How often do you say yes out of obligation, fear, or habit? How often do you commit to things that leave you feeling drained, resentful, or unfulfilled? What could you achieve if you redirected that time and energy toward your own goals, your own growth, your own happiness? Saying no is not a weakness, it's a strength. It's an act of self-respect and self-preservation. And it's something you can start practicing today. The next time someone asks for your time or energy, pause. Ask yourself, is this worth it? If it's not, say no. You don't owe anyone an explanation or an apology. Your time is yours to protect. When you master the art of saying no, you reclaim control over your life. You free yourself from the expectations and demands of others. You create space for what truly matters. And that is where true freedom lies. Habit 4. Focus on what you can control. Habit 1 is to focus only on what you can control. This might sound simple, but it is one of the hardest yet most transformative lessons you will ever learn. Most people waste their lives consumed by things they cannot change, other people's opinions, the weather, or what might happen tomorrow. It's like carrying a weight that was never yours to bear. And the Stoics knew this. They knew that freedom comes not from controlling the external, but mastering the internal. Let me ask you this. How often do you lose sleep over things outside your influence? Maybe it's a rude comment from a stranger or a decision made by someone at work. You play it over and over in your mind as if you can change it by worrying about it. But deep down, you know you can't. So why give it your energy? Why let it own your peace? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them." Think about that. It's not the things themselves that cause you pain, it's how you interpret them. You have the power to control that interpretation. When you focus on what you can control, you take back your power. You reclaim your life. Picture this. A ship at sea faces a violent storm. The captain can't control the waves or the wind, but he can control the ship, its sails, its direction, its response to the storm. Now imagine yourself as that captain. Life's storms will come, but your ability to steer the ship, to adjust your sails, is entirely in your hands. Will you focus on the storm and let fear consume you, or will you focus on steering and take decisive action? There was a time in my life when I felt completely out of control. My career wasn't where I wanted it to be, and I was comparing myself to others constantly. It felt like everyone else was moving forward, and I was stuck. I was angry, frustrated, and bitter. I blamed everything, my circumstances, the economy, even people in my life. It wasn't until I came across Stoicism that I realized the truth. I was directing all my energy to the wrong things. I was trying to control the uncontrollable. One day I decided to draw a line. I sat down and wrote 2 lists, things I could control and things I couldn't. It was humbling. The can't control list was long. Other people's choices, past mistakes, future outcomes. But the can control list, that was short. but powerful. My effort, my mindset, my habits, and my response to challenges. That was all I needed. From that day, I committed to redirecting my energy. If I couldn't control it, I wouldn't give it power. Instead of obsessing over whether a project would succeed, I focused on doing the work. Instead of worrying about what people thought of me, I focused on living with integrity. It wasn't easy. There were moments when I wanted to scream, to fight the unfairness of it all. But every time I reminded myself, is this within my control? If the answer was no, I let it go. This shift brought incredible freedom. It was like a weight had been lifted. I started sleeping better, thinking clearer, and achieving more. Focusing on what you can control isn't just practical, it's liberating. It allows you to channel your energy into what matters, into what can actually change your life. Think about your own life. How much time and energy do you spend worrying about things you cannot control? A social media post, a bad driver, a missed opportunity. What if you could let that go? What if, instead of spiraling, you asked yourself, what can I do right now? What action is in my power? You have control over your attitude. When things go wrong, will you complain or will you adapt? You have control over your habits. Will you procrastinate or will you take one step forward today? You have control over your focus. Will you dwell on the problem or will you work on the solution? This isn't about avoiding responsibility or pretending everything is fine. It's about choosing where to place your energy. The truth is, life is unpredictable. People will disappoint you. Plans will fall apart, but your power lies in your response. Will you let the storm break you, or will you steer the ship? The next time you face a challenge, pause and ask yourself, what part of this can I control? If the answer is nothing, then let it go. But if there's even one thing you can control, focus all your energy there. This mindset will change your life. It will give you clarity, peace, and the strength to move forward no matter what comes your way. When you focus only on what you can control, you stop being a victim of circumstance. You become the master of your life. You take ownership of your time, your energy, and your future. This habit isn't just about surviving. It's about thriving. It's about stepping into your power and living with purpose, even when the world feels chaotic. Habit 5. Practice gratitude relentlessly. This is not a nice-to-have habit. This is a must, a powerful tool in the arsenal of anyone who wants to live a life of purpose, resilience, and unshakable peace. Gratitude is not something you should reserve for the good days or the days when life feels easy. No, gratitude is for every day. It's for the days when you feel broken, defeated, and overwhelmed. It's for the hard days, the dark days. Why? Because it's during those moments when gratitude becomes your greatest weapon. You see, in our fast-paced, results-driven world, we often forget to stop and acknowledge what's going well. We're so focused on what we don't have or what we're chasing after that we completely overlook what we've already achieved and what we already possess. But here's the truth. When you fail to recognize the abundance around you, you create a void that breeds discontent, frustration, and ultimately unhappiness. Think about it for a moment. How often have you felt that pang of dissatisfaction, that burning desire for more, for something better, something different? It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that what you have is never enough. But here's the harsh reality. If you can't find gratitude in what you already have, you will never be content. No success, no material possession, no achievement will fill that void. So how do we correct this? How do we fight back against this constant urge for more, the insatiable desire to chase after something we think we need? The answer is simple. You practice gratitude relentlessly. Every single day, no matter what. Every morning, wake up with purpose. Look around you, take in the air, the space, the life you're living. Even if things are hard, find something to be grateful for. You have a roof over your head. You have the ability to make choices. You have another chance at today. That in itself is a gift. Too often we take these things for granted, expecting them to always be there. But the reality is, not everyone has them. And here's the thing. Gratitude isn't just about being thankful for the big, obvious things. It's about finding the little things, the small victories that often go unnoticed. Start small. Be grateful for your breath. Be grateful for your body and the fact that it carries you through life. Be grateful for the people who support you, even in their imperfect ways. Be grateful for challenges because they shape you, teach you, and force you to grow. Every step, every breath, every moment is an opportunity to practice gratitude. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers and emperors, wrote in his journal, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." This is the mindset that transformed his reign and life. He didn't wait for a perfect day to start being grateful. He chose to be thankful every single day, no matter the circumstances. And I can tell you from my own experience, when I began to practice gratitude relentlessly, my life changed. I used to be so focused on what I didn't have, more money, more success, more recognition. I was constantly in a state of not enough. But one day, I decided to change that. Every morning, I started to write down 3 things I was grateful for. At first, it was small stuff, my health, my family, my job. But as I practiced, the list grew. I started to notice the opportunities in my life that I had once overlooked. Then, something profound happened. I began to see setbacks, failures, and even people who hurt me through a different lens. Instead of dwelling on the negative, I began to see the lessons they offered. I started to be grateful for the challenges because they forged me into someone stronger, more capable. I realized that even in the most difficult times, there was always something to be thankful for. But this wasn't just about gratitude in theory. It was about implementing it daily. Every setback, every moment of frustration became an opportunity to practice. It's about shifting your mindset from a lack mentality to an abundance mentality. This shift is what separates those who thrive from those who stagnate. What happened next was extraordinary. As I continued to make gratitude a daily habit, I became more resilient. I became less reactive to the opinions of others, to situations that I couldn't control. My mind became clearer, and I started to notice more opportunities instead of problems. I felt more connected to the present moment and at peace with who I was. Gratitude allowed me to take full ownership of my life. It was no longer about what others did or didn't do for me. It was about me choosing how I reacted, how I showed up, and how I moved forward. If you want to unlock a deeper level of peace, success, and joy in your life, then gratitude must become non-negotiable. You must embrace it not just as an idea, but as a practice. A daily ritual that grounds you, that centers you, that pulls you back into alignment with what truly matters. Ask yourself right now, when was the last time you truly paused and gave thanks for everything you have? For everything you've been given? For everything you've overcome? You can begin right now. Make a commitment. Every morning when your feet hit the floor, take a moment, take a breath, and give thanks for the chance to begin again. The simple act of showing gratitude will build a fortress around your mind. It will fuel you in the face of adversity. It will change your perspective on your current situation and elevate you to a place of strength. Gratitude is the antidote to entitlement, to bitterness, and to frustration. It is the practice that will keep you grounded no matter what the world throws at you. And when practiced relentlessly, it will transform your life in ways you can't even imagine right now. So ask yourself, what's stopping you? Why wait for a better time to start? Begin now. Be relentless. The more you practice gratitude, the more it will shape your world. Your mindset will shift. Your circumstances will improve. Your peace will become unshakable. Habit 6. Cultivate inner silence. This habit is not simply about being quiet. It's about mastering your mind, about creating space in your life where you can hear your own thoughts clearly and with intent. In today's world, the noise is everywhere. The distractions are relentless. Social media, work pressures, the constant pull of notifications, the endless stream of opinions. The world is constantly shouting at you, demanding your attention. But in the midst of all this chaos, true strength is born from the ability to shut it out, to create space, and to let your inner voice guide you. This is where Stoicism shines. Have you ever found yourself overwhelmed, trapped in your own thoughts, not knowing where to begin? Have you ever tried to focus but felt like the noise around you, or even the noise in your head, kept you from truly seeing what's important? This is where inner silence comes in. It's the ability to turn off the distractions, both external and internal, and focus on what truly matters. Without it, you are lost in a sea of confusion, never able to fully see or understand what needs your attention. You may be busy, but you aren't productive. You may be active, but you aren't focused. Inner silence is the key to clarity. It's the key to finding purpose in the chaos. It's the key to knowing what really matters in a world that constantly tells you to chase everything. But here's the truth. Most people never experience inner silence. They are constantly bombarded by noise, whether it's the world around them or the constant chatter in their minds. But if you can learn to quiet this noise, if you can find that stillness, everything changes. You don't need to be a monk living in a cave to cultivate inner silence. You don't need to retreat from the world or cut yourself off from human interaction. What you need is to learn to filter the noise, to choose when to listen, when to act, and when to retreat. And it starts with creating intentional silence every day. When I first realized the importance of inner silence, I was living in constant chaos. I was reacting to every situation, every demand, every piece of bad news. My thoughts were scattered, my emotions were unstable, and my mind never stopped racing. I was getting things done, but I wasn't truly doing anything meaningful. I was consumed by the noise around me, and it was eating away at my focus, my peace, and my clarity. But then I came across the Stoic principle of inner silence. I remember the first time I made a conscious effort to create this space in my life. I started with something simple. A few minutes of complete silence every morning before I checked my phone, before I checked the news, before anything. Just 5 minutes of quiet, where I would sit and breathe deeply, letting the silence sink in. I wasn't thinking about anything specific. I wasn't judging my thoughts. I wasn't planning my day. I was just there, present, breathing, and letting the noise fade. At first, it felt uncomfortable. My mind was racing with thoughts, my to-do list was screaming at me, and I felt guilty for wasting time. But over time, I began to realize something profound. In that silence, I could hear my true thoughts. I could hear my desires, my fears, my intentions. I could start to separate the noise, the distractions, the irrelevant chatter from the true voice within me, the voice that was guiding me toward my purpose. Inner silence is powerful because it allows you to cut through the noise. It helps you focus on what's important, on what really matters. It enables you to tap into your inner strength and wisdom without being overwhelmed by outside influences. This is the essence of Stoic practice, creating space between what happens to you and how you respond to it. The Stoics were masters at cultivating inner silence. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, spent countless hours reflecting in solitude away from the pressures of his empire. Seneca, another great Stoic, practiced silence as a means to filter out distractions and clarify his thoughts. They understood that without inner peace, without the ability to center yourself, you cannot hope to lead a virtuous life. But this doesn't just apply to philosophers or monks. This applies to you, to me, to every single person reading this. We live in a world that is always on. We are always busy, always reacting, always overwhelmed. But in order to take back control, in order to step into our true power, we must reclaim our ability to find inner silence. What does that look like in your life? It could mean taking a walk without your phone. It could mean turning off all distractions for an hour and just sitting with your thoughts. It could mean journaling to process your emotions and clear your mind. The point is, you need to make room for silence in your life every day. This isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. There are moments when life will be loud. There will be challenges, frustrations, and people who try to steal your peace. But if you have cultivated inner silence, you will have the strength to face those challenges without being consumed by them. You will be able to think clearly, respond thoughtfully, and act with purpose. You won't be reacting from a place of emotion. You'll be responding from a place of clarity. Think about your day right now. How often are you consumed by noise? Are you constantly reacting to what's around you? Do you have moments of silence where you can simply be? If not, it's time to make a change. Start small. Give yourself 5 minutes of quiet each day and slowly increase that time as you get used to it. Make it a non-negotiable part of your routine. It will change everything. The key to mastering your life, to controlling your reactions and your emotions, lies in your ability to cultivate inner silence. When you have silence, you have clarity. When you have clarity, you have control. And when you have control, you can live with purpose and intent. This isn't just a habit, it's a way of life. It's a way of living deliberately, not passively. It's a way of taking charge of your mind and your actions rather than letting life happen to you. If you want to be truly free, truly in control, then you must cultivate inner silence. It's the foundation of strength, clarity, and peace. Make it a priority today. Habit 7. Face your fears head on. Let me ask you a question. How often do you run from your fears? Do you shrink back, avoiding the discomfort, hoping it will just go away? What would happen if instead of running, you walked straight into that fear, looked it in the eye, and confronted it? The Stoics believed in one powerful truth. Fear is nothing but a shadow. It may seem real, it may scream at you, but it holds no true power unless you give it power. And far too many people give in to fear, allowing it to control their decisions, their actions, and ultimately, their lives. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's easier said than done, and I agree. It's one thing to talk about facing fears, and it's another to actually take the first step. But the truth is, the longer you avoid your fears, the stronger they become. They don't shrink by being ignored. They grow, they fester, and they keep you trapped. One of the greatest moments of my life happened the day I chose to confront my biggest fear. I remember standing at the edge of the unknown, my heart pounding in my chest. It was a decision that would change the course of my career. I was presented with an opportunity to speak in front of a large crowd, a crowd I felt completely unprepared for. Fear gripped me. What if I failed? What if I looked foolish? What if they didn't listen? For days, I wrestled with these thoughts. I tried to come up with reasons to back out. I thought about every possible excuse. But then something shifted inside me. I realized that by avoiding this fear, I was letting it control me. I was allowing it to dictate my path. And in that moment, I made a promise to myself. I would face it head on. When the day came, I stood in front of that audience with every ounce of fear in my body, but I didn't allow it to stop me. I took a deep breath, delivered my message, and at the end, the applause was deafening. I was proud of myself, not because I had succeeded, but because I had done it despite the fear. The fear that had once held me back had no power anymore. This is what happens when you face your fears. You take the power away from them. You stop letting them dictate your actions. And while the fear may not disappear completely, it no longer controls you. It becomes just another obstacle to overcome, not a wall that blocks your path. You see, fear thrives in the unknown. It feeds on uncertainty. The moment you step into that uncertainty, the moment you show up despite the fear, you rob it of its power. Fear wants you to stay safe, to stay comfortable, to stay small. But greatness never comes from staying small. Think about it. What is it that you're afraid of right now? Is it speaking your mind in a meeting, starting a new project, putting yourself out there and being vulnerable? Whatever it is, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And more importantly, what's the best that could happen? Every time you face your fear, you expand your comfort zone. You learn that fear doesn't control you. It may take practice, it may take courage, but every single time you confront that fear, you grow stronger. You build resilience, you build confidence, and you build the belief that no challenge is too great. The Stoics didn't shy away from fear. They knew that fear was not an enemy to be avoided, but a challenge to be faced. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful Stoics to ever live, wrote that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. What stands in your way right now? What fear is holding you back? Instead of running, turn and face it. Facing your fears head-on doesn't mean being fearless. It means acting in spite of fear. It means stepping forward even when your mind is screaming for you to retreat. It's about taking action, no matter how loud the voice of fear becomes. And each time you do this, the fear gets smaller and your courage gets bigger. I can tell you right now, looking back on my life, the moments where I grew the most weren't the moments of comfort. They were the moments when I faced my fears, when I chose to speak up in a room full of people who disagreed with me, when I took on a challenge I thought was too big for me, when I stepped into the unknown, not knowing whether I would succeed or fail. Those were the moments that shaped me into who I am today. Fear doesn't define you. You define you. The power to conquer your fears lies within your ability to act despite them. Don't wait for fear to go away. It won't. Face it now, take action, and you will discover the true strength you've been hiding inside all along. Because once you realize that fear is nothing but a mental construct, something you've allowed to control you, you will be unstoppable. You will have the confidence to take risks, to speak your truth, and to live a life free of limitations. The path to success isn't paved with comfort. It's paved with facing fear head-on. Ask yourself, what is your fear trying to stop you from doing? And what would happen if you didn't let it? Imagine the possibilities. The power to break free is in your hands. You just have to face your fear. Now go, step into the unknown, and watch as fear fades into the background, powerless against your actions. Habit 8. Reflect on mortality daily. This is one of the most profound and yet simple habits you can adopt, and it has the power to completely transform your perspective on life. Every single day, you must remind yourself that your time on this earth is finite. You do not have forever. You do not know when your last day will come. Let that reality hit you, not as a burden, but as a gift that forces you to live with purpose, urgency, and clarity. The Stoics believed in the power of contemplating death to ignite the fire of life within you, to make you realize that each moment matters, each decision counts, and each day is a chance to live fully. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you thought about the fact that you will die? I'm not talking about in a distant, abstract sense, but in a real, visceral, life-altering way. How often do you let the thought of your mortality motivate you to act with more purpose? Do you realize that in the face of your eventual death, everything becomes clearer? The things that matter, the things that don't, and the time you waste on trivialities. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius would write to himself in his journal every day, reminding himself that life is fleeting and that he must not waste a single moment. You could leave life right now, he said. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This is not about fear. This is not about living in dread or constant anxiety over the unknown. It is about taking full ownership of your life and the time you have left. The truth is, none of us can predict when the end will come, so we must act as though every day could be our last. When you reflect on mortality, you are giving yourself the clarity to see what truly matters. The distractions, the petty grievances, the delays, all of that becomes irrelevant when you realize how precious and fleeting life is. Let me tell you a story. There was a time when I was trapped in the monotony of my daily routine, going through the motions, not fully realizing the gravity of time passing me by. I was busy, but I wasn't living. I spent countless hours on things that didn't matter, chasing after fleeting successes, pleasing people who didn't appreciate it, and stressing over problems that would eventually fade. Then, something happened that changed everything. A close family member passed away unexpectedly. The shock was jarring, the grief overwhelming. But in the midst of that pain, a realization hit me like a ton of bricks. I could have been more present with them. I could have used my time differently. All the time I spent worrying, all the moments I squandered on things that wouldn't matter in the long run, it was all suddenly irrelevant. I realized that I had taken my life for granted. I wasn't living with urgency. I wasn't truly appreciating the people and experiences around me. And when death struck, it forced me to face the truth. We are all here for a limited time. If I didn't make the most of every day, I would regret it. The worst part wasn't that someone I loved was gone. It was the understanding that time had been wasted. And that, my friends, is the hardest lesson to learn. But it doesn't have to be a tragic event that brings this lesson to you. You can choose to reflect on mortality now, while you still have the power to act. Every single day, think about the fact that you won't always be here. What would you do differently if you knew that today might be your last? Would you still put off the things you want to achieve? Would you still let insignificant issues steal your peace? Would you still give away your time to things that don't bring you growth or happiness? Here's the truth. Life is far too short to waste. You are not guaranteed tomorrow. So reflect on death every single day. When you wake up, remind yourself that today is a gift and that you are in control of how you spend it. Do not let your days slip by unnoticed. Live with intention. Live with purpose. Live with urgency. One of the most powerful things you can do to remind yourself of mortality is to visualize your own death. Yes, it may sound morbid, but I assure you, it is a practice that has the potential to change your life. Picture the last moments of your life. What do you want to see? Who do you want by your side? What do you want to have achieved? By imagining these things, you become acutely aware of what you need to prioritize. You stop wasting time on distractions. You stop holding grudges. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. The only moment is now. Think about this. What if you lived every day as if it were your last? What would you stop doing? What would you start doing? How would you treat the people around you? How would you spend your time? This isn't about becoming reckless or indulging in fleeting pleasures. This is about living with wisdom, clarity, and focus. When you reflect on mortality, you understand that life is too precious to waste. Every day is an opportunity. Every choice matters. Every action counts. The Stoics were not obsessed with death, but they were obsessed with living well. And when you live with the awareness of your mortality, you live better. You stop procrastinating. You stop waiting for tomorrow. You act now. The Stoic practice of reflecting on mortality daily is a tool that allows you to focus on what truly matters. It cuts away the unnecessary distractions, the worries, the trivial concerns, and leaves you with the essential, the things that will give your life meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. This is a hard habit to cultivate, but it's one of the most important. When you reflect on mortality every day, you don't just add urgency to your actions, you also add clarity. You can see what truly matters and what doesn't. You begin to focus on what you can control, and you let go of everything else. You begin to live with intention, with wisdom, and with a sense of purpose. You become the master of your life. So start today. Take a moment every morning to reflect on your mortality. Let that thought fuel your actions, guide your choices, and inspire you to live fully with passion and focus. Do not wait until it's too late to realize how precious your time is. Do not waste another moment. Live as if today is all you have. And when you do, you will see your life transform in ways you can't even imagine. Habit 9. Seek wisdom relentlessly. Do you want to become a master of your life? Do you want to make decisions with clarity, act with confidence, and shape a future filled with meaning? Then you must make seeking wisdom a daily habit. It's not a one-time effort, not a temporary pursuit. It's a relentless commitment to the process of learning, growing, and refining your mind day after day, year after year. The Stoics knew that wisdom was the key to living a virtuous, fulfilled life. Without wisdom, we are like ships adrift in a storm, at the mercy of the wind, the waves, and the circumstances we find ourselves in. But when you have wisdom, you have an anchor. You have a compass to guide you through life's challenges, a clear vision of how to live in accordance with nature and purpose. So let me ask you, how often do you stop and ask yourself, what am I missing? What is the truth I haven't seen yet? How often do you seek to learn from others, to gain a broader perspective, or to deepen your understanding? Most people go through life thinking they know enough. They rely on their experience, their assumptions, and their comfort zone. But wisdom is about questioning, challenging, and never settling for ignorance. It's about relentlessly striving to understand, to improve, and to never stop learning. You see, wisdom is not just about knowing things. It's about applying what you know in the right way. It's about discerning the difference between right and wrong, good and bad, and making decisions that are aligned with your values, not your impulses. Wisdom enables you to rise above the noise, to see the bigger picture, and to act with purpose and clarity. There was a time in my life when I thought I knew it all. I had read some books, attended a few seminars, and learned some life lessons the hard way. I thought that was enough, but what I soon realized was that knowledge without wisdom is like a weapon without a purpose. It's powerful, yes, but it can be dangerous if not used wisely. I remember one turning point. I had just started a new project, and I was excited. I felt confident in my abilities, and I thought I had everything figured out. But as the project progressed, problems started to arise. Issues I hadn't anticipated, challenges I wasn't prepared for. I found myself frustrated, lost, and unsure of what to do next. That's when I turned to the Stoic philosophers, who taught me a powerful lesson. Wisdom isn't just about knowing what to do when things are going well. It's about knowing how to handle adversity, how to learn from mistakes, and how to adapt when things aren't going as planned. At that moment, I realized that I had been relying too much on my own limited knowledge. I wasn't seeking advice from others, I wasn't learning from my failures, and I wasn't growing. I had been acting out of ego, not wisdom, so I made a choice. I would start seeking wisdom relentlessly. Every day, I sought out new ideas, new perspectives, and new sources of knowledge. I read books on philosophy, psychology, history, and leadership. I listened to podcasts and watched interviews with people who had achieved what I wanted to achieve. I sought mentors, surrounded myself with wise people, and asked questions that challenged my assumptions. At first, it was uncomfortable. It required humility to admit that I didn't have all the answers. But over time, something incredible happened. I started to see things differently. I began to make better decisions. I developed a deeper understanding of myself and the world around me. I learned to approach problems with a calm mind, knowing that wisdom would guide me through the toughest situations. Wisdom doesn't come overnight. It's not something you can buy or shortcut. It takes time, effort, and dedication. But when you make it a daily habit, it transforms your life. Wisdom helps you see past your emotions and impulses. It teaches you patience, perspective, and purpose. It helps you understand the deeper meanings of life, rather than being swept up in the surface-level distractions that most people chase after. But seeking wisdom is not just about reading books or attending seminars. It's about living with an open mind and a willingness to learn. It's about constantly challenging your assumptions, reevaluating your beliefs, and seeking the truth no matter where it leads. Wisdom comes when you humble yourself and admit that you don't know everything, and that there is always something more to learn. I'll be honest with you, most people don't seek wisdom. They seek comfort. They seek certainty. They seek validation. But if you want to live a life of true meaning, if you want to make an impact, you must be willing to step into the unknown, to question the status quo, and to embrace the discomfort of learning. Wisdom is not a passive experience. It's an active pursuit. It's about asking yourself the tough questions. What am I missing? What can I do better? What have I failed to see? And when you ask those questions, don't settle for easy answers. Push deeper. Challenge your own thinking. Seek out the perspectives of others. The more you learn, the more you realize how much there is to know. And the more you know, the better equipped you are to make decisions that align with your purpose. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you took the time to truly learn something new? Not just skimmed the surface or absorbed information passively, but truly learned, challenged your beliefs, expanded your knowledge, and applied that wisdom to your life? If it's been a while, it's time to get back on track. If you want to be successful, if you want to live a meaningful life, wisdom must become a daily habit. You don't need to be a philosopher to seek wisdom. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. Start now. Read one book a month. Listen to one podcast a week. Seek out mentors and engage in deep conversations. Challenge yourself to think critically, to ask questions, and to always be open to learning. Remember, wisdom isn't about being perfect. It's about the journey. It's about growing, evolving, and becoming a better version of yourself each day. When you make seeking wisdom your daily habit, you will not only improve your life, you will change the world around you. So don't wait. Start now. Seek wisdom relentlessly and let it guide you to a life of purpose, clarity, and true success. We have more interesting videos about Stoicism and the way of life. If you want to watch a video about 9 Stoic rules to detach your emotions from someone today, please click link above in the video. Habit 10. Take responsibility for your life. This is not just a habit. It's a declaration. It's a commitment to yourself that you will no longer be a passive observer of your own existence. You will no longer allow the external world to dictate the course of your life. It's time to own your decisions, your actions, and your outcomes. No more excuses, no more blaming others. If you want to live a life of freedom, power, and success, it starts here. You have to take full responsibility. Let's break this down. How often do you catch yourself making excuses? You blame the weather for your bad mood, your upbringing for your lack of success, your job for your dissatisfaction. It's easy to do, right? To push the blame onto the outside world and hope that the circumstances change. But what happens when you continue doing that? You remain stuck, you remain powerless, and nothing changes. You wait for the world to shift, for others to change, but that's not how life works. Here's the brutal truth. You are where you are today because of the choices you've made. That's hard to swallow, isn't it? But it's the key to unlocking everything you want in life. Everything that's happened, the successes and failures, the setbacks and triumphs, they are the result of decisions you've made. Now, I know that may sound harsh, but this is where you find your power. This is where you stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming the architect of your own life. I can tell you right now that the moment I took full responsibility for my life, everything changed. I stopped blaming my circumstances for my lack of progress. I stopped pointing fingers at others for where I was, and I began to ask myself the most important question: what have I done to get myself here? For years, I blamed my situation on external factors. My job wasn't where I wanted it to be, but I blamed the economy. I wasn't in the shape I wanted to be, but I blamed genetics. I wasn't happy with my relationships, but I blamed other people for not meeting my needs. Sound familiar? It's a cycle that traps you in a life of regret and unfulfilled potential. But one day, I had to confront the truth. My life was in my hands. If I wanted change, I had to take full responsibility for every aspect of it. I remember sitting down one night, looking back over my life, and realizing just how much I had let myself off the hook. Every time something went wrong, I found a reason outside of myself to blame. But deep down, I knew the truth. I knew that I had the power to change. I had the power to make new choices. The moment I admitted that to myself, I took the first step towards reclaiming my life. And that's what responsibility is all about. It's about being honest with yourself. It's about understanding that your future is in your hands. When you take responsibility, you stop looking outward for answers. You stop waiting for someone else to change, for something outside of yourself to shift. You realize that the real power, the real control, lies within you. Taking responsibility doesn't mean that everything will be perfect, that you'll always have the answers, or that things will go your way. It means that no matter what happens, you will take ownership of your response. You will not sit around waiting for someone else to fix things. If something goes wrong, you will look at what part of it you can control, and you will act accordingly. For example, think about your career. Are you where you want to be? If not, what decisions have you made that led you here? Have you been procrastinating? Have you been settling for mediocrity? Are you waiting for the perfect opportunity to fall into your lap? Or are you taking the steps every single day to move closer to your goals? When you take responsibility, you stop waiting for external factors to align. You stop hoping for someone else to give you the break you think you deserve. You take matters into your own hands. The same applies to your health. If you're not in the physical shape you want to be, ask yourself, what have I done to get there? Have I been taking care of my body? Have I been disciplined in my eating and exercise habits? Or have I been ignoring my health, making excuses, blaming my genetics, or pointing fingers at my schedule? When you take responsibility, you take control. And that control gives you the power to make the changes you need to make. Taking responsibility also means taking ownership of your emotions. How often do we blame others for how we feel? They made me angry. She hurt my feelings. Or he disrespected me. When you take responsibility, you recognize that no one has the power to make you feel anything without your consent. Your emotions are your own, and how you react to external circumstances is a choice. When you take responsibility for your emotional state, you stop giving power away. You become in charge of how you respond, how you think, and how you carry yourself in the world. In every area of life, whether it's relationships, career, finances, or personal growth, you have the power to create your future. But that power can only be unleashed when you fully take responsibility for the present. You have to stop making excuses, stop playing the victim, and start taking full accountability for your choices, your actions, and your results. When I took responsibility for my life, I took responsibility for my success and my failures. I took responsibility for the fact that I had been procrastinating, for the relationships I had neglected, and for the habits that had been holding me back. I owned the fact that I wasn't where I wanted to be, and I accepted that only I could change it. And from that point, I began to take decisive action. I started working on my goals every day, not waiting for the perfect moment, but creating it. I made changes in my daily habits, my mindset, and my environment. I started surrounding myself with people who inspired me to grow. The result? My life began to shift. Slowly but surely, things started falling into place. The opportunities I had been waiting for appeared when I created the conditions for them. My career took off, my relationships improved, and I found a deeper sense of fulfillment. But it all began the moment I took responsibility, the moment I stopped blaming others and started taking full ownership of my choices and actions. Now I ask you, what are you willing to take responsibility for in your life? What part of your life are you still waiting for someone else to fix? Are you ready to take control? Are you ready to stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating it yourself? Taking responsibility for your life is not easy, but it's the only way to truly create the life you want. You have the power, you have the ability, but it all starts with accountability. These 10 habits are not just practices, they are a way of life. They demand effort, discipline, and consistency, but they are the foundation of greatness. Begin your day with reflection. Embrace discomfort, guard your time, focus on what you can control. Practice gratitude, cultivate silence, face your fears, reflect on mortality, seek wisdom, and take full responsibility for your life. Master these habits and you will master yourself. Start today, not tomorrow. Your future self is waiting. If you like the video, or you don't want to miss future videos, subscribe. Till the next time, stay strong and live wisely.